Hey everyone, this is Daniel,
I'm Jun,
and we are
Korean.
American.
Hey Daniel,
Hey June,
morning.
good morning.
Today's a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up very sad.
Why?
What's going on with the US?
Ah, wait, 미국 구식?
주식.
주식.
What's going on?
Are you sad for the economic loss
Yeah.
or just the overall American state?
I mean, to be completely honest, I can care less about the American state. Who cares?
Killing me.
But there are a lot of problems.
Yeah, 미국 구식, right?
주식.
주-
Yeah.
미국 주식.
I've never seen so many. So in Korean, like the way that the Korean stock market visualizes things is the opposite in the US, right? Blue is bad. Blue
Red
is
is
like
good.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many blues.
Oh, blues for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all red.
Yeah.
So bad.
For a large margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many would say it's been a long time coming because it's been on an all-time run, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
But not like
it's painful.
to this degree.
Yeah, yeah, I
Whatever,
agree.
Whatever
It's definitely
tariffs.
tariff-induced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today's also a very historical day.
Oh, wait. April 4/4,
Yeah.
Sasa
Sasa.
in Korean history,
Not history.
in our history,
Modern history,
modern
maybe.
history, April 4th. Don't know.
Today's the day where the Supreme Court's gonna rule the impeachment
Oh, yes.
of the president. So
Yeah.
in about 3 hours, there's gonna be a ruling.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Historical day, political turmoil.
I
for
believe I
both.
got one of those alerts.
Yeah, you
sa-
shouldn't go near the area.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of subway stops are going to be closed.
Yeah.
They're expecting very heavy crowds. And I think also there was something going around the foreign expat circles here, basically translating all of this into English so that people could be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy month, I guess. At least
Either way. I mean,
Yeah,
do you
either way.
heavily anticipate he'll get impeached?
I don't know at all because it's like very. I think this is the sad part. The entire country is split half and half
Oh,
on this
really?
issue. Yeah, that's why I feel like it's a bit different. I don't know how much of like politics I want to talk about,
Sure.
but compared to the last time when the President Park Geun-hye was impeached, I feel like we were more aligned
A line. There's
Back then.
it was unified in there.
compared to now. Yeah. So, anyways,
I'm not one who's overly, I guess, into or concerned with the news in general, but I'm also surprised. I literally did not know that was happening, despite all these like alerts going around. There's moments in my life I realized like I'm really not on top of current events or the
Yeah.
news. I don't concern myself with it that much. So
I don't
yeah.
either, to be honest with
I know,
you.
but this is
just
so
like
big
very
that-
big news. Yeah.
I don't know if I shared this. But I believe a sophomore in college, and I was walking out, just in like a common area. There was a TV on, and there wasn't even the crowd, June, but it was, I think, America invaded Iraq or something like that, and it happened like 4 days ago.
And you didn't know.
And I was looking around like, oh my god, like why are people not going crazy about it? And then I saw like, oh, it's been 4 days since it happened. That's really
Sometimes I think ignorance is a bliss. If we
Yeah.
haven't known any of this,
Yeah.
I think our everyday lives wouldn't feel very different,
yeah.
except for my monetary values. So that's what I'm
Gucci.
concerned with.
Yeah.
I don't care about the politics things, especially because it's not my country.
Yeah.
But when it affects my
Yeah.
my investments.
No, I understand. Yeah. Oh, June, this past week.
Yeah.
Actually, well, we should also mention, I think maybe was it last week? Last week we met up with a listener who happened to be in Pangyo,
Yeah.
and he had emailed us a few times, and he lives far outside of Seoul,
Yes.
but he was in town and said, "Hey, are you guys free for coffee?" And so
Yeah.
we had a very quick. You had a 5-10 minute coffee chat with
Yeah.
him. Yeah. But he was, he was British born, spent a lot of time in the U.S.
With
and
no British accent.
He said it could come out, but he's been living outside of the UK for so long, I think. Yeah. But then spent time in America and is now in Korea, married. Yeah. So But he's lived here a very long time, 12 years. So he had some fun stories to share. Jun, we had another listener visiting as well. I guess one of our earlier supporters too.
Supporters.
Listeners. But she would send in a lot of emails talking about our episodes.
Absolutely.
And has been a very loyal and constant listener. So she said she was fine with us sharing. Becky Ajuma, I guess.
Becky Ajuma.
But I didn't call her that. So I'll just say Becky visited from Minnesota. And June. She's with her two friends. And I'll share more about our interaction. And it was really refreshing and fun to spend time with them. But first, June, they brought us goodie bags from Minnesota.
Yes, I've heard. But we intentionally, specifically for me, we intentionally you didn't show me anything so that we can get a live reaction.
You have no idea what's in these.
Yeah.
Live unboxing.
I'm kind of under pressure because I'm not the best
expressive. Yeah.
But I'll try my best.
No, Jun, you don't need to try.
I'm not going to fake it.
Don't fake it.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, do you know anything about Minnesota?
I had a friend from Minnesota.
Yeah.
All she said was like, it's very cold and then apples.
Okay.
So that's my image, like cold and apples.
Okay. I also learned a few things. I think before meeting them, I would have said they're known to have very friendly people.
Ah, Midwest, right?
Yeah, north Midwest, I guess.
Yeah. It's close to,
Yes,
whichever state was
to
where
Canada.
Nelson was.
Yes, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's also on the Canadian border. And then I would have also said Mall of America.
Mall of America?
Yeah, so the Mall of America is located in Minnesota. It has an indoor roller coaster. I think it's been around for many decades.
Oh, so it's actually a mall.
It's called the Mall of America.
I thought it was like a nickname for the state. Mall of America.
Yeah. And there's like a Minnesotan accent. I can't do it. And then I think they also call soda pop. But I did not confirm that with them. So.
I've once seen a map of the states where it calls certain things differently.
Yeah.
Or like pronounces things differently. Like caramel.
Yeah. Caramel versus caramel.
Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
Caramel.
Caramel.
That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Have I ever said this on air, June? I think I have. I took one of those accent tests back in the day. I speak with a mid-Atlantic accent, I believe, which is the classic radio voice. Yeah.
There are certain things like that in Korea too. Like for instance, I mean, like a saturi thing is very obvious, but there are things that are not specifically a saturi, but things that people express things differently.
Yeah, when you're a broadcaster, right?
No, based on your region.
Oh, that. Yeah. You told me about one thing before. Was it 부치기 or
부추?
Yeah.
부추 and 정구지, but that's like clearly a saturi.
Oh, that's
a
a saturi
dialect thing. But there are things that it's not necessarily a dialect, but they express it differently. For instance, like the expression of "I'm drowsy." Seoul people say 졸려. 경상도 people say 잠와.
잠와.
Yeah. I mean, some Seoul people could say 잠와, but it rarely happens. And Gyeongsangdo people almost never would say 졸려. Yeah, because it sounds so too cutesy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
졸려. How about 잠들어?
잠들어 means like fall asleep. So it's
yeah.
kind of a different.
잠들고 있어?
잠들고
I'm
있어?
falling asleep.
I'm falling asleep. Yeah.
Versus
almost
잠이
like-
와 or 졸려.
Yeah. If I say I'm 잠들고 있어, it's almost as if like I'm getting hypnotized.
That's perfect because I try to say that to my kids.
Anyways, that 잠와
Fall
versus
asleep.
yeah. Yeah, that 잠와 versus 졸려 is a typical example.
Okay. But with no further ado,
Yes.
let's do the unboxing. And I'll do my best. Sorry, Becky and friends, if I butcher anything.
And you said the what is it? The bag.
Oh,
even
okay.
has a meaning.
Even the bag. Okay, so Becky and her two friends, all three of them are nurses at the same, I think, trauma hospital center in their city in Minnesota. Sorry, I forgot exactly the name. Minnesota's a big state, but they're all trauma nurses there.
Minneapolis.
I know different city names, but I don't remember which city it was. Yeah. And But Becky's side hobby, besides all engrossing herself in all things Korean, is photography. So this is her official, I think, photography bag. RBG photography.
Wait, she runs a business around
I would call it a
photography?
side hustle. Yeah, definitely not a full-time thing or anything
So
like
when I
that.
saw her holiday postcard, it did look very professional. Oh, and she wrote my
Yeah,
name
in
in
Korean.
Hangul.
And she got it right too. Daniel. Yeah, this is
Can I see yours?
that's the right Hangullification, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's I think how I do it. I don't even know myself. But yes, the bag itself is meaningful. First off, I think we should go with the find
Okay.
the Ziploc baggie, unbox
Da-da.
it. Wait, did you open it yet?
Oh, I want to soak in every single thing. Like, what is this?
You'll see.
Not suitable for children under 3 years of age. Does this have any meaning?
As a parent, I would say it means it has small parts. Yeah.
It's Lego.
Oh, cool, huh?
Oh
Ta-da!
my god. That's so cute.
So it is a Lego brick wall with our
Oh my
logo on
god.
it,
This
like
is
custom
so
art.
cute.
Yeah. Put that right here.
Is this
for you.
supposed to be like a puzzle thing where we like un
Oh, yeah, you could.
detach everything and then it could be a puzzle easily?
I never
don't
thought
know
of it that way.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
I love it. I love it.
Okay,
Da-da.
next. So
This looks like, oh, wait.
Maggie and Mary's creamy wild rice soup mix. Simply add water and simmer. So wild rice apparently is something that is either from Minnesota or that they are proud of. So they're wild rice.
I love this because I think it's a very American thing for me.
Oh, wild rice.
Every
Yeah.
time I went to the school cafeteria, they had like some sort of wild rice.
Ah, yeah.
And I love that kind of texture, which is like a little bit more tougher than how Koreans would consume rice. And you never find it in Korea.
That's true.
So I love this.
Yeah. I said my initial response was, oh, is this like a Native American thing? And I believe she said yes.
Oh, really?
I think wild rice in general I'd associate with like the Native Americans.
I see.
Had it first.
I don't know if it's true, but it feels very healthy.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very fibery.
uh-huh.
Well,
I was going to say, I think I'm supposed to say indigenous people. Yeah, not Native Americans. But I don't
okay.
know. But yes, wild rice. We'll have to try
Thank
it
you,
and
thank
talk about
you.
it later.
soup mix, and it's a soup.
Simply add water, June. Yeah, add water and simmer.
It's from Shakopee, Minnesota. That feels also very
Indigenous peoples.
indigenous peoples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever, maybe for our non-American audience, whenever you see those types of words, it's almost always derived from the indigenous peoples.
I love it.
And then, we should note it was the national first place winner, NASFT Culinary Excellence.
Is there a reason why she chose this?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a very Minnesotan thing.
Maybe a very Minnesotan thing. All right, next, June.
Ooh, I feel something soft.
Oh,
A
okay, let's do it. Let's do it now. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
Okay,
What's
so
this?
June, this is a twofer. Why
I
don't
haven't
you?
seen it yet. What?
Why don't you also grab the?
Oh, spam?
Yeah. So,
Korean barbecue flavored spam?
so this is spam in a purple wrapper, which I've never seen, and it is Korean BBQ flavored.
Whoa.
If you were to look this, June, what would you describe this other banchan on the front? This is a like
It looks like oi muchim.
oi muchim
Yeah.
with spam cubes over rice, which sounds delicious.
Interesting. It's so interesting because like I'm almost sure that spam must be like the biggest export
From America.
from America to Korea, right? Other than maybe, I don't know, Hawaii. But then we would never have Korean barbecue.
Barbecue,
So
yeah.
this is so ironically cool.
But June, it's a twofer because why don't you unveil the T-shirt too?
Oh, spam museum.
So this is June. I also learned spam is headquartered in Minnesota.
Really?
I can't say it's manufactured. I don't know if it is or not. I assume it is too, but it is from maybe invented in Minnesota.
I did not know that
I did not
spam
know that.
is an individual like company of its own.
Oh, what? Come on.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe
Oh,
it's
it's
a
a
part of like craft or whatever.
that I see.
Yeah.
That I don't know either. But yes,
Interesting. It's Minnesota. Thank you, Minnesota,
thank you, Minnesota, for spam.
for amazing spam.
And she was very clear. We do not have to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
She repeated this many times because I think clearly it's a very loud shirt.
Why?
But I'm gonna wear it.
I'm gonna wear
I'm
it
gonna
too.
wear it. All right, let's put it on. Oh yeah, ta-da! Spam, and on the back, Korean flavored, Korean BBQ flavored.
Awesome. I love it.
I was blown away when I found out Spam was somehow founded, manufactured, or based in Minnesota.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for our staple food. Especially for chachisengs like me. Do you know what a chachiseng is?
Jachiseng. Saying is life?
Yes.
No, I do not know what jachiseng is.
Whoever's just like living alone, like this is a godsend.
Spam.
Yeah.
I'm excited to eat it. Okay, June, there's more. I think the next two are a 2 for 2. Why don't you grab the final 2 snacks? So one of them is they are both from Pearson's, nut goodie, maple, and salted nut roll with peanut packed. And this one has vanilla nougat, golden caramel, and roasted peanuts. They were very excited for us to try these. Yeah.
Really? Let's try it on air.
Eh?
You don't want to?
Okay.
It's true, like reaction. But why were they excited? 'Cause is this a very Minnesotan thing too?
I think Pearson's is a very Minnesota thing, but
I've never seen this brand.
Me neither. They were just like, oh, it's so good. Yeah. We really like it. I think in contrast to the to the Korean BBQ flavored Spam, kind of gag-ish gift, they were like, no, trust us, this is really good.
Really? 혈당 스파이크 for the morning.
ASMR unwrapping.
Ooh. So it has like peanuts and I think it's just peanuts, right?
It's vanilla nougat in the middle, and then caramel wrapped, and then rolled in peanuts. Let's try it.
Very hard. Yeah. It's harder than I thought to bite into.
Probably harder than. I mean, it's traveled. I don't even know, 10,000 miles.
It's our first mukbang.
It's good.
It reminds me of something else. It feels like somewhere in between a Snickers bar and a Reese's Cups.
Ooh, peanut butter,
No? But it does have peanut.
and it's very peanut heavy.
Oh, I like it.
I get the Snickers.
Oh, it goes so well with the coffee. Thank you so much, Becky. Is that all? No, we have some more. We have photos. Oh, she takes like the most adorable baby
Yeah.
photos.
So her photos are super good and adorable.
Oh my god.
They're bookmarks. She gave me 6 for my kids to use as their bookmarks too. But I said, she said like, oh, I know June might not read, but here's a bookmark.
Because I'm Korean?
Yeah. She's a very dedicated listener, June. And then, yeah, it's just branded with her photography studio. And yeah, but she was very thoughtful. She gave me one for every
These
family
are
member.
so good.
Yeah. But June, if you ever get there with the kid photos, like the newborn photo shoots, yeah, they're a thing in and of themselves.
And what's this bag?
I think
there's another one.
Generic Minnesota bag.
Ta-da. It's
Ta-da.
very colorful.
Yeah.
As a lot of things in America is.
Yeah, but it's a very nice
The
bag.
colors in Korea are very subdued, except for when they put lightings on stuff.
But you can see it's like the ocean, because Minnesota also, I think, has a lot of lakes and borders a lot of lakes. And yeah, sunset.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you again.
I love all of these. The nougat is so good. I'm so sorry I couldn't meet you, Becky.
Before we move on, okay. Yeah, I'll just say I love when we meet listeners because we can just dive right in. There's like already a shared context, which is our
So you have
podcast
to like
content.
skip the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm okay with small talk, I don't love it. I like it as a means to dive into the more meaningful stuff. And even with even with the British listener and then with Becky and her friends, you can just like dive right in, right? To the more, in my opinion, more interesting questions, deeper questions. So you don't just have to remain on the surface. So I realize that's why I like meeting guests so much. It's just like I love always talking to people about things like, okay, where'd you grow up? How did it influence you? Right? What are your thoughts on Korea versus America and all that stuff? And it's just like we can just dive right in. And so that's what I realized after talking with both the British guest and now Becky and her friends. Yeah, that's what made it really enjoyable.
It's still quite a foreign experience to me because, like, for instance, last time when we had Byung as a guest, we talked for like an hour and a half after you left.
Yeah.
And it was so, like, still very foreign to me to understand that he knows a lot about what we talked about.
Yeah.
That's still kind of like, oh, it's so weird.
Let's see.
cool.
The other things, I guess, I guess I met them on day 3 or 4 of their trip. So, but they had gone to.
They left.
No, they're still here. I think they might be in Busan or something.
They were so cute because, like, all the cafes that so Becky sent us her itinerary,
Yeah.
and like all these cafes I've never heard about. And I searched one of them, and it looked so like not something that your average Korean would go to.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's not true. Or like I would go to.
I'll share more in a second, but yeah.
But then I realized it's all like Super Junior member-owned cafe. It was so cute that they're going around like this pilgrimage thing for
yeah.
Super Junior.
So we met at a.
Becky would be so excited to know that Byung has a personal relationship with Henry, who's a Super Junior member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Small
like
world connection.
Like what?
Yeah.
How many degrees? Anyways. Her to you to Byung to Henry.
June, she already got a picture with Super Junior members' parents. So
really?
She doesn't need us.
Oh my god.
At this cafe, it was run by one of the Super Junior members. Sorry, I don't know any. Even if
they have so many members.
Yeah, the mom and dad were both there, and then she took a picture with them, and she was very excited. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to share was they had gone on a DMZ trip, and one of the tour guides, I think, was a Korean woman who spoke English very well. Nothing bad. They were either genuinely curious or feeling like my interpretation was maybe they felt like they had to do small talk. Like, oh, we know Americans like small talk, so let's just talk the whole time. But they brought up a lot of very contentious things. Namely, how do you feel about Trump?
Oh, really?
Do you carry a gun? And, they do own guns, right?
Wait, the tour guides?
Yeah.
Why are they so culturally insensitive? It sounds very unprofessional to me as a tour guide. But they're professionally doing it as a business.
See, that's not at all I don't get it because I look Korean. But I think when you're like a white American, people are just going to ask you stuff about America.
Like, I would be offended if I hired a tour guide in the States and that person starts asking me, like, are you from North Korea or South Korea?
Yeah.
Or like, do you guys all eat dog or whatever?
Oh, would you be offended?
I would. Offended is too extreme, but I would feel that they're unprofessional.
I see.
Yeah.
That was not at all the spirit of what we were talking about. They were not like, unprofessional, blah, blah, blah. But it was just they were just like, oh. Basically
Embarrassed.
The 3 of them were like, oh, one of us has to take the bullet and engage with this person for the whole trip. And so they offered up one of the 3 as sacrifice to engage with the tour guide for the entirety of
Oh my god.
that DMZ tour. So, I don't know. I think
so they didn't necessarily associate with a negative thing.
I mean, that's the thing. Even if it was negative, I don't know, myself included. When you're traveling, you just kind of roll with it, and it's like a fun experience in a sense. But I mean, would they have preferred to just talk amongst themselves and not have to answer questions about America? I mean, clearly, are you a Trump supporter is a very loaded question and very divisive in the country right now. So that's not something you would ask casually. But yeah, I'll just wrap up with this. I think, seeing 3 older women on a trip together, They've been friends and coworkers for a long time now.
Mm.
And, Becky was the one that was pulling for Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And the other two friends kind of like,
Tagged along.
basically like, what's the word? Supported her in what she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me, I ended the conversation when I left, which was like, I feel like you three are like life goals for me.
Mm.
Like to be, I wouldn't say old, but later in their life, to have friends to travel with
Yeah.
that you feel so close and comfortable with.
Yeah.
That you'll even go someplace you're not, let's say, actively excited to go because they want to go.
Mm.
I don't know. It felt like a good life goal for me to have friends like that when I'm older. So
You're lucky enough to have just one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was very cool and heartwarming.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were laughing the whole time to the point that the cafe owner was like, "Can you please be quiet?"
Mm.
To that point, Jun, the cafe owner also, because I was doing my best to pseudo translate, she had said, yeah, a lot of foreigners visit this cafe.
Yeah.
Because maybe for me, this was also my first time. I would never go there on my own. But she was basically explaining, like, oh, this is common. There's, and the whole cafe, I would say, during our, 1 hour there, probably saw like 20 people. I would have said at most one is a local. Yeah, everyone else was just a foreigner.
Wow. So it's common for foreigners to visit there and to be very loud, but you guys were particularly loud.
Oh, no. So first of all, there was one other group, but I think were speaking some European language.
I see.
And then the other cafe visitors were mostly solo. I don't think anyone else was in a group. So by default, we're going to be louder. But yeah, it was the feeling of the nunchi I had when I first arrived, where I was like so blissfully unaware, let's say, of how loud I was.
Yeah.
And then very quickly over time, and many repeated, polite suggestions from cafe staff or restaurant staff, like,
Yeah.
hey, other people are complaining about the noise. Can you please be quieter?
Really?
Oh, June, that's happened so much. Yeah, now I'm much more aware of it.
Does that happen in the States too? Almost rarely.
I would say almost never. Yeah.
Because I was kind of surprised last time. What was it? Last Friday? Was that last Friday when we went to Shinsadong?
Oh, we got backed off there too,
Yeah.
or talked to. Yeah.
I was so surprised
Yeah.
because it was so loud the entire 술집.
You didn't feel like we were being any louder.
I didn't think so.
June, welcome to the foreigner experience in Korea.
Do you think it was because we were speaking English?
Oh, in my mind, 100%. Yeah, there's no question.
Because I was like, what are you talking about? This whole place is like so loud.
I can understand though. I think when you don't understand what's being said, it sounds louder to you.
Or it just sounds like noise. Maybe.
Yeah. Versus like if you don't understand it, like Americans would complain about non-English being spoken just as much. Like, oh, can you like stop using whatever Spanish, or oh, your language sounds so loud, like you're fighting. Stuff like that. You hear it all the time. Yeah. So I think it's simply the foreignness of the language
I see.
makes it sound louder. So I can have some empathy for that. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's been many times now that we've been together that it's not uncommon at all when we're just talking in English for someone to say something to us about it. Oh, why are you so loud? Like, things like that. Okay, let's transition.
But I wanted to talk about Becky's friends and that friendship. Because I feel like as a Korean, I don't understand what like very tight relationships are like in the US. Because in my mind, Korean friendships are more strongly bonded. I don't know why. Versus Americans, I don't know if they have that kind of. Because in my mind, because they're very individualistic. And so this is a good segue to go into what we were supposed to talk about today, which is around jeong and social circles and everything. Yeah. So it all started with like the last episode that we recorded around, what was it?
Social
circles and like the way that you understood it and you reacted. And I kind of like thought about it a lot. So it was always like lingering in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And then one day, I don't know why, all of a sudden I had an epiphany. Yeah, because I was thinking about like, how do I feel about social circles, and like, how would you would have thought about social circles in Korea and all that. I had an epiphany, and I like immediately texted you saying, Daniel, I have an ephany about like Jeong and everything.
And then I was like, wait, June, don't tell me.
Yeah.
So you can discuss it on air. And then you're like, okay, but I'll write it down so I don't forget.
Yeah, which I did.
And then we had coffee someday, when we weren't recording. And then we just talked about it for like an hour.
Yeah. I wasn't sure because like at the time of the epiphany, I thought it was so good. This is like a very fresh take on what I think the social interactions and like Jeong and everything is interpreted in Korea. But then like as time passed, I wasn't sure if this is like really interesting. So I was like kind of 자신 없어. You know what that means?
No. I know what 자신. Oh, confidence.
Yeah,
you lost confidence.
Yeah, I was like, so like at the time I was like, I don't even know if this is that interesting. But then you said it was interesting.
It was just a preview for our audience. This is the missing link that explains almost, I can't say everything, but it brings together a lot and makes me feel like I at least understand much better the social interactions, the social circles, the feeling of jeong, the concept of jeong.
Yeah.
So this is like a very, very big thing for me, and I hope for our listeners too.
Yeah.
You can listen along as we discuss it.
So I think this explains certain things, such as why is there such a stark contrast between what Korean social circles were like in the 80s and 90s versus now? Like, why is there such a sharp, strong shift? I think it also explains a little bit about how Koreans feel about like the closeness and friendship feeling that they feel in the States. And I think I've seen in some comments on our episode about like how Koreans felt when they went to the States and like that coldness and that feeling of betrayal almost.
Yeah.
Because I definitely felt that too.
So interesting. Yeah.
I do feel like this is somewhat of a common feeling that Korean people get because I definitely felt it at times.
Yeah.
And my dad also told me about this. So I was surprised that he had the same feeling, reflecting back to when we were living in the States.
Yeah.
And so it explains a lot of things.
It really does. Yeah.
So enough for the suspense.
I will say,
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think we never said on air, June, that social circles episode, a lot of people were commenting like, oh, are they fighting? Is it okay? And even during recording, I could sense that it was a bit tenser than normal. I was in a bad mental state and maybe still am. But what I would say is that was the first episode I ended the conversation not feeling very close to understanding even.
Yeah.
Agreeing, whatever, like I don't have to agree, but at least I wanted to understand the Korean mindset.
Yeah.
And it was just so foreign, so like I didn't know what I was missing. But I feel like again what we're about to talk about goes a very, very long way towards helping me understand. So.
I think the reason why you felt that way is I think it's partially on me because I was trying to explain things without explaining this missing part, I think.
Well, you had not arrived at it yourself yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just constantly trying to tell you what the current status is without explaining exactly why, because I didn't know either.
Yeah, we were just talking past each other, I realized when I was listening to the conversation.
So this is a good, I think, follow-up for our past episodes, both Jeong and then social circles.
Honestly, a lot too. I think responding to the comments, maybe I'll set the stage again, build the suspense even more. But specifically, commenters had mentioned a video by another like Westerner living in Korea. Who he's famous, right? What's his name? Oliver Sem, maybe?
I don't. Oh, Oliver Sem, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see the comment? Oh, someone had asked us.
Oliver Sem, yeah.
So it was a video by Oliver Sem.
Yeah.
Which is Oliver Teacher, right?
Yeah.
It's describing like a mom at the bus stop waiting for their kid, and another mom. So it's a Korean mom and a white mom waiting for their kids, and the white mom is super friendly. She's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, like, you're into this. Let me connect you to my other friend, like, introduce you to them. Like, you guys will hit it off. Just like all smiles, laughing, super familiar, right? And then they, drop off their kids, blah, blah, blah. Later in the day, that same, white lady is running, jogging, and like makes eye contact with the Korean mom and completely ignores her and keeps running.
That one.
And
that
then,
sense of coldness.
See, that's not coldness at all to me. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I can understand why you would see it as coldness. But they were like, what is this interaction? And apparently this resonates a lot with Koreans living in America. Like your best friends 1 second, they're doing things above and beyond what any new person should do for you. And then the next time they see you, it's like almost ignoring. Like you don't. There's no friendship at all, right? Like what's with that? That's so
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
Yeah.
all that is to say, I think this episode should hopefully address those three things
Yes.
head on. Yeah.
Hopefully. So it all started from, I think, thinking about what my close friendships are like very close friendships, and how, if I think about those friends, what's my immediate like emotional reaction to that?
Yeah.
And my, I don't want to say conclusion, but anyways, like conclusion for this thesis is that this is a thesis, by the way. It's my own personal thesis. Like the Korean jeong or friendship comes from an extreme level of collectivism again, right? This is not new. But I feel like the ultimate status of true friendship for Koreans is like blurring of the boundaries between me as an individual and you as an individual. Like there's that like sense of like there's no clear boundary between me and you is the, I think, ultimate state of what Korean friendships are. Because historically, like the Korean culture evolves around a very strong sense of common solidarity, right? So if you see like that opening scene of Reply 1988, it was like that very iconic scene where like they go back and forth with their panchans and everything. It almost feels like their family.
Yeah. One big family.
Yeah. And I think that sense of like we're not even sure at certain points where like this kid is my kid or your kid. Like my kids are like your kids and your kids are like my kids. And that explains so much about like why in like the 90s and the 80s it was so common for like if mom wasn't home, you just go to your neighbors and just stay there and it was still okay. Because there's like that trust that we're no different to family, and ultimately we're no different as an individual. Like I'm like that part I know that you're kind of iffy with.
Yeah.
But like I am you and you and I kind of like that. Like I would go out of my way to help you with anything kind of. Yeah. That kind of feeling is the sense of warmth and jeong to me as a Korean. And I think the problem is in modern Korean society is that now with the Western influence and like everything being like online and stuff like that, the common sentiment is heavily gravitating towards individualism. And now Korean people, I think, are confused that kind of like sense of blurring the boundaries kind of friendship clashes with individualism. So I think that's one of the reasons why in modern day Korea, when someone mentions the word jeong, Korean people immediately associate it with like the concept of ojirap, which is like being too noisy into your business, because there is no other form of being close other than ultimately like us like blurring the boundaries kind of. And I think the reason why that kind of friendliness works in the States is because the Western world almost started off with a very individualistic society as a basis. So for a very long time, they learned how to maintain that individualistic society while having that lubricant of like common courtesy, right? Like I am I and you, but we can still be very friendly on the surface. So that's like a tool, that very useful tool for an individualistic society to work and for people to bond with each other, even at like, I don't know the depth of it, but still like everyday life. I think Korean people just passed that and like very rapidly went from like that, like blurring boundaries kind of social interaction to like a very individualistic society. And they don't have the tool. They never learn the tool to have common courtesy. Because that's the only way I think individualistic societies can stand.
Interesting.
Because you have to have that lubricant for the society to not be so super cold and like too cold and depressing, like what Korean society sometimes is like right now.
Are you specifically talking about, let's say, small talk and those, or are you talking about like loose communities or
All of that, like
all of
small
that?
talk
Oh,
is
okay,
also,
all
I
of that
think, a
included.
lubricant. Like they know how to maintain the boundaries of like I am I and you, but still be like close to each other.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah,
Yeah, there's so much to unpack. Let me summarize, though, my understanding and what really resonates to me. Jeong is the blurring of boundaries between individuals in a group, whether it's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, etc.
Yes.
To the point of we all just think of us as one collective unit.
Yes.
And we're going to define that as a jeong-based friendship in Korea. And to your point, what you're saying is that was the only type of friendship that Koreans knew.
Yes.
A jeong-based friendship where the ultimate goal of that friendship is to reach this state of oneness where we don't at all consider ourselves as individuals, but we're just one collective person.
Yes.
So I think that was like a very big shift in how I understood jeong and thought about it. And yeah, I don't know where we should go from this, but my immediate reaction, June, was like, oh, I get it now. That's so toxic.
Yeah.
And again, I know that's just from an individualistic Western perspective. But, you know, I would define that almost as like codependent, like lack of individuality. Like, you know, it's just, it's ripe for abuse too, right? Because if one person in that relationship is acting that way, it needs everyone to buy into that. Otherwise, you know, some person is almost going to like take more than they give, right? It can, I see it as kind of ripe for abuse. My immediate question too was, how does this ever work when there's any sort of hierarchy in the group, right? And when you're talking about that opening scene from 1988, Reply 1988, and just for the audience again who isn't familiar, it depicts, I think, 4 families who live all basically right next to each other, so they're neighbors. And you know, it's dinner time, and they're all shuttling around food to each other, which is like, oh, I got this from you. Let me take the same container, fill it up, give it back to you. And the kids are just all shuttling things around, which I think is such a beautiful scene. And if that's jeong, then that's amazing. But the reason why I can't quite sign off on that is that maybe it's just the good parts of jeong. I still feel like there are boundaries between those families. And also, I don't know if the kids all feel that with each other, right? Like, I don't know if you pick, you know, I don't know how many kids are in that, but the 5 kids, do they all feel like that jeong for each other? Like, I would do anything for you, you would do anything for me. Like, I don't think that was true in there. I think there's a sense of we're all just helping each other out. And I think that's a beautiful form of collectivism. But with very clear boundaries. They have their own living space. They have their own parent-child relationships. You know, they're all friends. And anyway, so that's what I wanted to lead with.
I think it's already depicting, to start with a very basis of like you thinking that it's very toxic. I also wanted to mention maybe this is one of the reasons why Korean society started off this way. I think it's because traditionally it was a very agriculture-based society and like rice-based farming. I think it involves a lot of human power. And for you to maintain that kind of industry and of agricultural like workforce and everything, I think you had to be very collective and like form that community where like it can't be very clearly distinguished between me and you and like everyone just in this together. Like I help you do your like work on your paddy, then you would help me work on my paddy. There's a very specific word for this called pumashi, where like neighbors go around helping each other, taking care of each other's field or paddy.
Yeah.
What was the other thing that I want to talk about? Oh, the scene in Reply 1988 where you felt like the kids were a little bit different from how like the parents felt the way. I think that's already depicting a little bit of like the generational difference. But I feel like it's a lot different already from what that depicts to now, right? So I think still like the kids are like kind of like abiding to the status of the 5 different family and they feel closeness, but the level of bond that they feel compared to their parents' generation is already kind of different. So it already depicts that very rapid change in societal values and sentiments. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think that they had very clear boundaries either. Even the kids, like they go into like their other like friends' room, and like they go out of their way to help others and stuff like that too.
To be clear, when I say it's toxic, it's not something I thought through, like, oh, why is it toxic? What are the roots of it? But just in my mind, it's ingrained. Anytime you lose your individuality for someone else, that's kind of a toxic pattern in a relationship. And I think it comes from a place, and the reason I was tying it to kind of abuse, it comes from a place of that relationship style can only work when everyone's bought in and everyone's doing it equally, right? And this is what I was saying earlier. As soon as some person doesn't quite match up or is not, I guess, abiding by that social contract of like everything's communal, we, you know, I'm you, you're me, etc. We're all one.
Yeah.
That's when it can get quite toxic, right? So, and this is where I want to talk about maybe hierarchy. Maybe we can tackle this, June, like relationship by relationship, because I'm curious how this works in like, or the good and bad of how this works in like a parent-child relationship,
I see.
or a peer group relationship, where I think it does work well, versus like you were saying other things like, you know, boss employee relationships and things like that. Because I don't know if that's one way we could tackle this, kind of go relationship by relationship. I do want to respond to, though, like some of the things where you're saying just like going patty by patty and like everyone helping everyone's farm out. That sounds like a very like classic American thing too.
Okay.
Maybe back in the day though, not as much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jun, this is where like I don't know if it was clear in our previous social circles one. I actually think the closest friend groups are the same, right? That blurring of boundaries ish, right? You would never fully blur boundaries.
Yeah,
but I think the closest friend groups are very similar between Korea and America. What I think is very different though is that Americans also create space for these very loose, shallow communities. And Koreans have none of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I was always just like, why don't you have this yo-yo or space for those shallow, loose connections in addition to your very close friendships?
Yeah.
And I think this is where, sorry, I don't know if we want to dive into this now, but you know, you had mentioned it's almost like in a Korean context, if a relationship is not going to evolve or grow into that jeong-based friendship, where we're very, very close, again, blurring of boundaries between me and you, then there's no point in investing. Like that is the goal of all friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
And so if it's not going to get there, why even put any time into it?
Yeah.
And that's the part where I really didn't understand.
Yeah. That's why I think I told you to, but also in a lot of the comments for that episode, people were mentioning like that time and effort, like energy. I don't have energy to do it because I think in a Korean mindset, that's the only way of like very close friendships.
Yeah.
So when they think about that, like, you have to invest so much energy into it. But your mind is that there's so much middle ground where you don't have to put so much energy. But like that phenomena, I don't think exists. It almost, I described it to you the last time when I explained this as like almost like a gravitational law.
Yeah.
There's no like in between. It just gets stronger and stronger. You have to like get pushed to that kind of relationship, right?
And I love that analogy because, you know, ultimately that results in a black hole.
Yeah.
So jeong is like the black hole of relationships.
If you put it that way.
It just attracts everything in.
Yeah. But I also wanted to quickly mention one point when you made that it's so easy for the social circle to fall apart because if one person doesn't abide to that social rule, then you can't be part of that. And I think that is true. And I think that's one of the reasons why social circles don't tend to become like larger and larger. It only gets smaller and smaller, maybe. Yeah.
No, when you describe that jeong-based relationship as, again, ultimately getting towards a place where there's no individuality, just a blurring of boundaries, I can understand like, you can only have so many of those relationships.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Which is why like I feel like the Korean group is at most 5, somewhere between 2 and 5, right? Yeah. And in the, you know, dramas, you always see these groups of 2 or 3 people depicted as like the social unit in Korea. And this helped explain that for me, right? If it's like this all-encompassing, super tight relationship where you don't have any individual whatever, it's just a blurring of boundaries. Yeah, you really don't have much space for more.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And also, I also wanted to mention this is one of the reasons why Korean people are sometimes so upheld by the concept of jeong, because that blurring of boundary between like you and I are kind of family doesn't really translate to professional industries. So that's why I think a lot of the times Korean people associated with not only like that ojirap thing, but in a professional setting, it's associated with nepotism and corruption and like sometimes even like sexual assault. Because that like there's this word called like 딸 같아서. Like I feel like you're my daughter.
Oh, whoa.
It's such
Whoa.
a like sexual
What?
predator thing, but it happens so commonly.
Really?
Yes.
Ah,
And I feel like that older generation, I'm not trying to make an excuse for them,
sure.
but I think it starts from that kind of jeong feeling, but
Yeah.
then like they don't know where to stop.
Okay.
And it like weirdly goes into that like weird state of like sexual assault.
Okay. We have
Yeah.
to go through that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should build up for it first, though.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we could talk about Jung in a family relationship.
Okay.
Because you just said Jung as family,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I'm also like, I'm not sure I agree. Because I think family has a very clear hierarchy, but maybe not. Like this is what I'm trying to understand.
Mm.
So maybe before you get, I do want to tackle that eventually. How does Jung and this, this blurring of boundaries between the individuals,
Work in a hierarchical group.
yeah, how does that play out? Let's say in a family setting first. Yeah.
So when I say that it's ultimately you are me and I'm you, I'm depicting a very ultimate state, like almost like an idea in like Plato terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are certain like in a hierarchical group like a family, I think that's why in Korean, not only families but in group settings, there are very very strict roles
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you have to play, right? So you abide to that role of like a father figure, mother figure, and I'm the son. I have to do certain things. Like a daughter should do certain things, a son should do certain things. And I think that sort of is the mechanism of how like a hierarchical group works in a very, very closely bound relationship.
I see.
Yeah.
So you play a role because you know that is what is important for the group.
Yeah.
I see.
So I think that role addresses the fact that even though you are me and I'm you, we still have hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you play your role within that.
Yeah.
But what happens when, and maybe this is just, it's not even using the same vocabulary between a collectivist and individual society. But I mean, my first question is, what happens when an individual doesn't want to play that role? Right? Is that the source of a lot of family, let's say, conflict or drama?
Yeah, it's so common that like the so-called 장남, like the first child, or like 장녀 as a daughter, doesn't play that role, and
Yeah.
it becomes like so much of a it creates so much drama within the family,
Yeah.
and it's such a common thing that you see in like K-dramas and whatnot too, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
I still, it's not obvious to me how like blurring of boundaries plays in with these roles then, because it's like all that matters is that role is fulfilled, right? It doesn't necessarily matter who does it per se,
Yeah.
right? And if it's lacking, maybe everyone agrees like no one wants to play this role, but we're all gonna do our part,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how I think a pure Jung-centered family unit might work. But that's not how it plays out in practice, and I'm wondering like why not?
Wait, I don't know if I understood the question clearly.
Yeah. So let's say, typically the father figure in a family unit is they make the money, right?
Yeah.
What if the father's not good at making money?
Yeah.
Why doesn't everyone collectively say like, oh, well, we'll all do our part in making the money, or, who is the best at making money? And they go play that role for the group, right? Like that seems to be, to me, what a healthy collectivist, jeong-based family unit might operate, right?
I see.
Or, yeah.
I think sometimes it works that way, but it works in a way it's because it's inevitable. And there are like so many times I think I see a lot of families where like the father is incompetent of like
Sure, yeah. Can't
doing
provide for
certain
the
things
family.
for many different reasons, but and then like the mother stands up and does the thing. But a lot of times I think in Korean society it happens with a sense of bitterness. He didn't fulfill his role, so
Yeah.
I'm doing it. So that's so much of a burden to me, and like so much 고생 again, like that word of 고생.
Yeah.
So it works, but it's not like, oh yeah, you can't do it, so I'll fulfill it for you. So I think that's a very good point. Although we're like all ultimately blurred as an individual, doesn't mean that the role expectation
Are blurred.
are blurred. Yeah.
Okay, let's bring up finances, a very
Yeah.
tricky one.
Yeah.
Why isn't the Korean family unit such that everyone who makes money just pulls it into the family pot, let's say, and then everyone, we collectively decide whether it's a democracy or voting or whatever, like how the family budget gets distributed, right? Every purchase decision. Clearly there's a hierarchy in one point, in one sense, where parents have more voting rights than kids. I guess I'm just curious, like how that plays out with finances in particular. Yeah.
I think that used to work that way back in the days. And still, I mean, at least for the spouses, it works that way. A lot of the times their finances are merged together. Isn't that true for Americans as well? No. If both individuals are working, do
Yeah.
they like maintain their financial
It's
things
so
separately?
different case by case.
I see.
But historically, it definitely worked that way in my generation, let's say.
Yeah.
I would say for the younger generation, it's completely different. They keep separate individual accounts. They
Interesting.
contribute to shared expenses proportionate to, let's say, either their usage of that or their income earned, right?
Wow.
So I think in a very healthy way, those financial boundaries are set now. And to me, it's healthy, right? The way
Yeah.
that they set them for the younger generation.
Yeah.
But for my generation, where it's all blurred, common property, etc., I feel like that was just assumed to be the norm, and anything else felt too cold and calculating. But I can appreciate the very clear setting of these financial boundaries now. That seems to be more and more common with the younger generations. I think because they saw so much conflict with the older generations with respect to money.
Yeah.
So.
That's so interesting because you described it as a healthy relationship,
yeah.
which I resonate a lot with. But my immediate mind was like, oh, that's so cold.
Yeah. No, mine too. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I can respect why it's very healthy in certain ways.
So I think traditionally in Korean households, it was like not only between spouses, but multi-generationally too.
I see.
Yeah, but how does it work if like the child generations are also working, but
Yeah.
you have to be living together to have that kind of like financial like one pot
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
system?
yeah. You just again, every family comes to an agreement
Yeah.
that works. It's not a signed contract or
Yeah.
anything, but just an unspoken rule, which is a lot of times Korean families might think this is cold, but when your adult children over 18
Yeah.
live with you,
Yeah.
they pay rent. Or they do something to contribute, right?
I think Korean people do that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
in an
okay.
indirect way. Not like actually paying rent.
Okay.
Which sometimes some people actually do.
Okay, okay.
One thing also comes to mind. One of my close friends,
Yeah.
she used to give all of their salary to their parents because their parents told her that, oh, we can invest this and we'll return this later with a bigger thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I always told like,
That's not
please,
healthy.
like, yeah, please just like do it individually, like have different finance
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
But for their family, I think it made more sense. Which I think if you really think about, if you really like do the math, maybe it does make more sense. But I felt like there's so many strings attached there.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like I thought that was a very toxic relationship.
See, I think a lot of people might see this jeong-centered relationships as toxic for that reason.
Yeah.
It's like it's stripping her of like, what if she wants to spend that money or invest it in a certain way?
Yeah.
She has no say in it, right?
Yeah.
She's almost ceding that to someone else to do. I think the reason why I see it as more ripe for toxic outcomes is when hierarchy plays a role, right? I think like parent-child, there's a clear hierarchy. So I think my main thesis is like this jeong-based relationships that you're describing is such a beautiful thing that can probably only work when there's no hierarchy involved. Yeah.
Oh, the way that I want to depict it is it could always be beautiful, regardless of whether there's hierarchy or not. But it's a system where it has very strong pros and also very strong cons. Whereas like maintaining your individuality and having that kind of you described it as healthy relationship, it's like the pros and cons are not that extreme, but the pros are not that good either.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the very good outcomes that can come from that very jeong-based relationship is so beautiful that you cannot really achieve in like that very strict boundary individual relationship,
yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
I mean, do we want to say, how does jeong play out now in friend groups then? Like, and I understand, to me, it explains a lot of things, right? It's like friends for life. You can only be a part of one. what I defined previously as a clique, which I would still describe it as having cliquish behavior and traits and attributes. Because, I was thinking things like high barrier to entry, you can only be a part of one, it seems very exclusive. If you want to get out, you can't. Like, it's just like these things seem very, to me, unhealthy. But when you describe it as like that jeong-based friendship where it's the blurring of boundaries, again, we all act in everyone else's best interest. We almost act as one person. Oh, I can see why like it works for Koreans then, right? And why it can only be a part of one, why it takes so much time to develop, why me as a foreigner could never ever penetrate one of these groups.
Yeah.
Because I also don't want to be in that group now, right? It's like I don't want a relationship that's all encompassing where I have to like give everything away from my individuality to contribute to this group. To be honest, I don't want that. So in a sense, it makes me feel more at peace with understanding that. But yeah, it still doesn't answer the question of why there can't be these looser social connections that I do want. But yeah, I get it.
I mean, my short answer to that is that Korean people haven't learned it yet. Yeah, and Western societies had a long time to adapt to that, or it started with that. So they have like many different tools to mitigate that kind of that too much of a coldness, right? A sense of belonging, community.
Yeah. I think it comes down to hierarchy too. Like specifically, I think the best part about maybe individual societies and at least my individualistic mindset is being able to very clearly set boundaries with whoever, with my parents, with my wife, with my children, with my friends. Like, I think that setting of healthy boundaries is the most important part of what can make a relationship last, sustainable, mutually beneficial, etc. And it's like, hey, you violate that boundary, like then it gives me, I have to make a decision. Can it be repaired? Do I have trust that we can reset that boundary? Or it's just done, right? And I think that's where it's like healthy in my mind.
Yeah.
So you violate that boundary, I can just stop that relationship. Where I think in the jeong-based relationship, it's like, how can you set a boundary with yourself? And how can you, separate from yourself?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost impossible, right? So
To begin with, like a very collectivist society, albeit like Korean modern society could be seen as very individualistic, but I still think we're figuring it out. And that sense of individualism is weaker than America, right? Like me. Like I even feel like that kind of difference between describing my family or like my father as like my father versus like in Korea, it's always our father, our family, our company. That's like already uri, right? That kind of
our bank.
It's already very embedded in the language too. And you said that individualistic setting boundaries is very healthy, which I think is true.
Yeah.
But I also told you my immediate Korean mind gravitated towards like coldness.
So cold.
So I think we're still figuring it out. Like instinctively, I feel that coldness. So it takes another step to understand that it's healthy, but still it's very hard for me to ignore that coldness aspect, if you will.
No, I mean, I think it's cold too, like to be clear, but I also, again, I think it's healthy, right? Let's just take finances for an example.
Yeah.
If you get married and you have, everything shared, no boundaries with finances, everyone gives and takes as they please, right? That can clearly result in like very, let's say that only works when everyone's very responsible, communicates about what they spend, is very transparent about what they earn. And ultimately when there's 100% trust that this relationship is going to last forever, right? If any of those things are violated, that kind of relationship doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you could almost say, and I think a lot of people agree with this, the mere fact that you're setting these very clear boundaries makes it easier for that relationship to end. Because you've already, orchestrated things in such a way such that that's not the worst outcome, right?
Yeah.
So I think I get what you're saying, where it's like the best case scenarios are like not as amazing, but the worst case scenarios are not as bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like this very like playing for the middle, which, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if this analogy really makes sense in this context, but I'll just say it.
Yeah.
It almost feels like in an analogy of when I'm eating food.
Yeah.
Like the jeong-based relationship is a very like decadent chocolate cake.
Okay.
It's so good if it works. Like if you can digest it,
Okay.
if you're healthy,
Yeah.
it's so good,
Yeah.
right? But it comes with a lot of, baggage.
I don't get this analogy.
Now,
Like
like
unhealthiness?
unhealthiness, right?
Oh,
But
like it's bad for you.
it's almost as if
Eh?
like you're saying that, oh, like that decadent chocolate cake is
Yeah.
too bad for you. Substitute it with like whatever, like a healthy snack, right? Okay, it's healthy. You're
No
saying it's
injun.
healthy.
No
It's
injun.
healthy,
Yeah.
but it's not as good. It's sustainable. You can keep having it. But I keep on
Ooh.
thinking about that very good cake.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this is a bad
No
analogy.
injun. No injun. I think the food analogy is the Korean Jung relationship.
I'm known for making very bad analogies. I do this a lot in my work.
Company.
And everyone's like, no, that's not a good example. I think this is a very end thing.
No, I think I'm an N.
Yeah.
But I think the food-based analogy might be like Koreans just, you order like one big meal, like a stew.
Yeah.
Everyone like takes and uses the same collective like spoon. We're sharing germs, but we all eat together.
Yeah.
And we all enjoy that one thing that we all agreed everyone likes.
Yeah.
Whereas Western style, right? Let's just say everyone orders what they want, and then you can kind of offer and give to other people as you well please, but you don't feel any burden to accept either.
I know, but I understand that because you're incorporating that collectivism
Yeah.
thing, but like that in like that collectivist thing aside, I was just trying to depict
I know, the
something
up-
that is
up
so
and
good.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was a bad analogy.
No, the cake thing, Jun, is like that's always going to be good and it's always going to be bad, which I don't think is. Oh, maybe. Do you think that's true for a jung-based relationship?
It's only bad if you have it too if it goes bad.
It's always bad for you though.
Well, but if you're like
you weren't getting at the health aspects.
if you're like a teenager, I think you can have as much as chocolate cake as you want. You'll still be fine.
Oh, no injunct to this analogy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I 인정해 that it's no 인정.
No, I don't think of my life as like a bland, very like untasty but healthy meal.
For a Korean, it is.
No, I don't think so.
That individualistic. Anyways,
Yeah. No, but okay. I also, this is so all over the place. I want to use this as a way to hopefully explain that phenomenon that we talked about earlier in Oliver Sam's video, which is, first of all, when I meet someone new and they're like willing to go above and beyond to try to help me out or make connections or seem very warm,
yeah,
very natural.
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to take advantage of me. I don't think it's a scam. My baseline assumption is like, oh, they're just very friendly.
yeah,
And then, later that day, if I see them make eye contact but ignore, first of all, I would probably do something like a quick smile. But I'm not going to stop my run to go talk with you because I'm running. I'm
Yeah.
in running mode.
Yeah.
I have my headphones on.
I.
Yeah, it's just like, no, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like, okay, I think it's common courtesy to like wave or just like smile or nod.
Yeah.
But, that's all you would ever do.
Yeah.
Right? And if I don't do that, my thought would be, oh, they're just really in the zone. They're busy.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't see me.
Yeah.
I would never be less necessarily offended by that. After all, we just met.
Yeah.
We're not close yet. But that's the thing. Like, you're both willing to do things for people you're not close with. And then, very clear with maybe a boundary, which is like, hey, when I'm running, I'm not going to ever interrupt my workout for you. It's my boundary. It's okay. You can understand that. So that's at least my explanation of that interaction and how it would feel very normal to me.
That's a very good example of like that different phenomena of setting the boundaries as an individual, but also knowing how to orchestrate those tools. So okay, let's simulate that, right? As a Korean
Yeah.
point of view, I think this person, okay, I will say I would have felt that, oh, we're on this path to becoming so close.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
that first persona that Americans project is
So friendly.
so friendly in a Korean context. So, oh, like you want to be very close friends with me is how I understand
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm willing to take that path. Okay, let's
Oh,
see
wow,
where it goes.
okay.
Like we're gonna be like brothers and
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right? And then you see that person the next day and they're jogging and they ignore you. And it's
Yeah.
like, what
What
just
happened?
happened? I thought we were like best friends, right? But then that person's probably like, oh, like we're like setting the boundaries, right? I'm
mean,
doing my stuff, right?
yeah,
Don't infiltrate to this zone.
yeah, yeah.
And that's when Korean people feel that coldness or like almost betrayal.
And now I understand why they might.
Yeah.
Because they think every relationship should be on this path towards a
Yes,
jeong-based
yes,
relationship.
exactly.
But in my mind, Jun, that relationship is neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
They're just neighbors. That's what you do with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? You're friendly. You help each other out.
Yeah.
Give and take. Like if you need me to pick up your kids, I will. No burden.
Yeah.
Just like that's what you do. But when it comes to boundaries, we're
Yeah.
not going to share finances.
Yeah.
Right? We're not, inviting into home is its own different thing. But maybe we'll eat meals together. But we're not family. We'll never be family, and that's completely okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's actually preferable for both parties. So I don't know. I think that if we were to define again a jeong-based relationship as having no boundaries. And a Western style relationship as having very clear boundaries that you're always kind of negotiating.
Yeah.
I think that's a very key difference here. Yeah.
I think that exact moment is when Korean people feel that confusion.
Cold?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Like when they're like running to you and then they see that there's this like wall of like
Don't talk to me, I'm exercising.
the great wall of individualism. It's like, oh my god, what is this?
No,
you're so cold.
No, Jude. It's the transparent boundary of
I know.
space.
I know.
I'm just saying another analogy.
Yeah.
And I think likewise, this is where Americans would feel so taken aback. It's like, why are Koreans so cold to me? It's because they see you as a stranger. And the likelihood of us becoming a relationship like family with no boundaries is so small.
Yeah.
Why would I even care about you?
Yeah.
To be honest, I still don't understand that. But I at least can maybe get a glimpse of it.
Yeah. Again, they lack the tool. Or like they lack the tool, and also there's only a singular form of creating relationships. But I also want to say Korean people are finding the middle ground, and especially I'm finding that in the workplace.
I was gonna say, let's move on to that. Perfect.
Yeah.
So there are two kind of social circles we have found in Korea.
Yeah.
That is approaching this level of relationship with clear boundaries.
Yes.
And I think one was work, and the other was a hobby-based, interest-based group.
Yeah, that's a good example.
So I think I want to talk about those as like a stepping stone towards just the greater, I don't know, opening up the space and helping Koreans, in my mind, realize you do have the space for these community-based groups that are not going to ever get to a jeong-based relationship.
Yeah. The reason why I think Korean people are recently finding this out in a workplace, although there's been workplaces for a very long time, is because a lot of Korean companies are trying to at least pretend to have like a flatter hierarchy system. So in that sense, there's no very strict role expectations than before.
Yeah.
So there is like that sense of weirdly kind of looks like a friendship, but then there is this very distinct context setting of we're a workplace relationship, which kind of forcefully makes us maintain a healthy relationship, maybe not going into too much of your business, but still maintaining that friendliness, maybe.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's very close to what an American loose friendly relationship would look like at work. Yeah. So like we eat meals together, like we talk about things that we did like in our personal life a little bit. But like we understand that we shouldn't get too much into each other's business. So in that sense it's kind of healthy, I think. Yeah. And also it's because in a lot of Korean modern companies, they try to get rid of that kind of hierarchy title.
Yeah.
It's like your name plus nim, right?
Yeah, they're trying to eliminate hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
But I think this supports my thesis that the healthiest jeong-based relationships only exist without hierarchy.
Yeah. I think hierarchy makes it kind of introduces another level of complexity. Definitely, yeah. But like I do kind of want to advocate for the fact that it might work, is because even in a very like if we're even like between you and I. If we were to be close in the Korean context, we would already be saying 반말, but I would call you hyung, right? Isn't that?
Oh, you don't think hyung eliminates the jeong?
It doesn't. Maybe even makes it closer because there's no distinction between like family context hyung 동생. Like like the title isn't different. So I think this also very symbolic.
Yeah. Again, just from a purely definitional point,
Yeah.
I don't understand how a boundaryless group can exist with roles now almost. Like that's what the hyung one is hard because I don't know what's expected of a hyung. But I'm thinking like when you call me hyung, I understand they could breed a sense of closeness. That I agree with. But in my mind, it's like, oh, what if I don't want to play the hyung role or don't know how to play the hyung role? Right? Is this relationship going to work?
If the other
Yeah.
person strongly expected you to play the role, then it couldn't work.
exactly. Yeah.
But
That's
it
where I think
depends.
roles makes it very, very challenging.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to the family-based relationship too,
Okay. Yeah.
which I know that there's pros and cons about this. Like that ultimate, what's really interesting to me is that the more you resemble, even in a family context where there are different genders, different roles, and different hierarchies, I think the similitude, the similarity that you have between members plays out differently. For instance, a mother-daughter relationship is very different from a mother-son relationship in Korea, I think.
I see what you're saying.
Because you're ultimately approaching that state of I am you and you and I, and it's even much more easier to project myself onto you if you see yourself into the other person. So that kind of like mother-daughter relationship is very endearing if it works well, but also could be very toxic. And that I think plays a role in this very fierce, almost like forcing education to that other person. And I witnessed this a lot in everyday life. I might offend a lot of people here, but I think people where the mothers are so obsessed about their daughters' education are the ones who receive not so much education.
Oh, interesting.
They feel a sense of maybe han,
Yeah.
and they almost project myself onto their daughters. And
Yeah,
they,
it's like if me and my son were one, and I wanted myself to get educated more than I was,
yeah,
I would encourage him to get educated like I wasn't able to, right?
yeah,
And that, again, this is where it's like if we're blurring boundaries, that
Yeah.
kind of makes sense.
yeah,
But yeah, I think you're saying yourself, you can see why that's kind of toxic.
yes,
Like you're projecting your individual desires
yeah,
onto that individual under the guise of oneness.
yeah.
Right?
And I
Which
see,
is which is where like the father in a different context could say, no, whatever the son wants, I'll take on.
yeah,
Right? But because there's that hierarchy, it never plays out that way. And that's where but I think you're saying something similar, Jun, which is the similarityness, the amount of similarities within the members of a group.
yeah,
The more similar people are, the tighter that junk can become. Or
Yeah.
let's just say more easily.
because
that
in
junk can
theory
form.
you're even closer
Yeah.
as an individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe that this defines why, mixed gender, like a mixed gender jung group is so
Yeah.
hard to exist.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Multi-generational jung groups are so hard to exist.
exactly.
Different social hierarchies or, economic states
Yes.
across, different boundaries.
that's a
it's
very
so hard
good-
for
yeah.
jung to exist.
Yeah.
Because they're so dissimilar and have different needs and desires, right?
Two things I witnessed also in this family relationship is I don't know why, but I used to really enjoy watching this show called 금쪽 같은 내 새끼. It's a show where
Something about my kids, yeah.
it's a show where parents come on with like having a very troubled child, and 오은영 선생님,
Yeah.
she does the consulting, and so many times I think the common thread is she keeps on telling the parents, understand that you guys are different, like people, like
yeah.
stop thinking that like your son or daughter is you.
Yeah.
Like understand your individualistic beings. So I think that kind of toxic like relationship is again sometimes very endearing and sometimes there's something good about it.
Yeah.
But if it goes bad, it results in very toxic relationships. The second thing I thought was very interesting. I don't know if this is a type of spoiler, but I'm watching, which in English it's When Life Gives You
Oh,
Tangerines.
IU, that one. Okay.
Literally,
It's the hottest drama in the world right now.
literally, it's like the whole theme is about the mother-daughter relationship. Literally, the same actress IU plays the mother and the
Yeah,
daughter.
yeah.
Isn't it so symbolic?
That's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the same person.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it says a lot about how like mother-daughter relationships are perceived in Korea.
In Korea, I
Yeah.
see. June, there's still something I'm like not quite sure of with relationship to like, because you keep talking about personas and roles
Yeah.
in a jeong-based friendship, right? And it seems to me, you've said it a lot yourself, it's so easy for Koreans to put on a persona or play a role, whether I'm playing the son role, the father role, the hyung role, right? And in like a workplace, you're playing the coworker persona,
Yeah.
right? In a community-based interest group, you're putting on the interest-based persona, right? I only care about rock climbing. Let's just talk about rock climbing.
Yeah.
And like, we're only going to be very careful about talking about anything not related to rock climbing, right? But why shouldn't it be easy for Koreans to put on the persona of like, I don't know, friendly stranger, or like very near and dear to me, it's like neighbor. Like we're all living in the same community. Let's just all be nice to each other, neighborly, right? Why is that hard for Koreans to put on a persona with which there are very clear boundaries of how they approach a relationship or group?
The only answer that I can give you is that Korea is still learning, right? That because for a very long time, neighborly relationship was very close to a family relationship, and you have to like shift that paradigm to understand now that it's different. And let's put on a persona for this, right?
Yeah.
Like putting on a persona isn't a necessarily easy thing for Koreans either,
Oh, it's
although
not?
they
Okay.
have to in certain contexts. But like to put on another persona for this, I think we still have to learn that there are good things about it. And now I think we're in a transition phase where like certain times like we don't know how to do it because the only close neighbor relationship that we know is that very family like relationship. So if I'm determined not to do that, I don't know how other I should act like. Yeah.
So there's some world in which the neighbor persona is like, it's just the role you play in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
With no expectation of that relationship with your neighbors becoming jeong-based relationships, right? Right. I think that would go so far to like helping, let's say, Western and Koreans like get to a better place of mutual understanding. Yeah, it would eliminate that kind of that coldness that we feel with people we don't know. There's probably more to this, but that's my initial thought, right?
I think one other factor that plays a role here is the title. Like for instance, in the States, like telling strangers your name is such a common thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hi, I'm Daniel. I'm Jun. Like
For sure.
next time I meet that person, that person will call you like, hey Jun, right? But in Korea, that title, like you don't really give out your name easily because there is no way in which we call strangers by their names. It works in a work context, right? Because we have to call people's names. And that's why the name plus nim thing works.
Yeah.
But I feel it's so weird to say that to a neighbor or like exchanging names. So I think that adds another layer of difficulty because we don't know how to call each other.
Is there no term for neighbor name?
No.
Really?
That I think would work if that works.
What's the word for neighbor?
이웃?
So if I start calling people I see in my community like
이웃님?
이웃님, 안녕하세요,
No.
they think it's weird?
It's so weird.
Wouldn't they be like, oh, nice, like they have something to call me by. Oh, 이웃님,
It's kind
잘
of cringe.
지냈어요?
It's cringe. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it could become the norm, I think that could be nice. Just a way to greet simply.
Is there? Yeah.
I mean, Americans will literally be like, hey, neighbor. Like, I also, even if you don't know someone's name, you'll be like, hey, neighbor. It's like friendly. Yeah.
I think it works. I think one instance where that kind of works is when you call out someone that has a very specific role. For instance, 기사님 to a taxi driver. Right?
Or the
driver님.
관리 아저씨. Could I call them like 관리님?
No. I don't know. For certain instances, like 기사님,
기사님.
that works. Not for neighbors, because that's not a role.
It is a role, Jun. That's where I'll push back.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
understand.
very important role.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So
To the social fabric of community. It's a
see,
very
so I
important
think we're
role.
already slowly getting there. You know how like I'm very surprised. Like for instance, the last time when we hung out with the Kimney Park people, you know how we called each other name plus nim.
Oh, did that feel weird to you?
That was not a thing in even like 20 years ago. That would be weird. We would call each other like she, something she.
Oh, but there's still a title. It's just what specifically. Sorry, 님 is more close than she.
I don't know why, but it's associated with work to me because that's where it stemmed out. Like that culture of calling someone name plus 님.
Yeah.
So I felt like, oh, this works in like this kind of stranger kind of first encounter context. We call people something 님, and I'm sure that that's how it works in the hobby-based relationships, right? So I already see progress in this area.
I see.
Yeah,
It is still fundamentally different, I will say. Maybe
of
not.
course.
Maybe we're merging what I would call a role that I play with a persona that I take on for the
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, persona implies like how others perceive me more than a role,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
But yeah, if I were to really think through this now, live with you, when I meet my neighbors in my communities, I guess I am playing my neighborly role. It is who I am too.
Yeah.
But I am, I guess, playing my neighborly role versus I think, and I think that would be the equivalent of Koreans putting on a neighbor persona, right? And I think that's where maybe we can start to merge the two
yeah.
different perspectives. Yeah.
So I think looking on the positive side, again, I think we're getting there. We're slowly moving towards that. People are starting to learn how to be friendly in this very like newly individualistic society. One challenging part that I see is that we also simultaneously moved on to a very online-based society. Whereas like the Western world had to deal with this in a very offline-based world for a very long time to like make this very mature, right? I think that part's going to be kind of challenging because the online, like the entire world is moving to this very cold kind of thing, right? So I don't know if we have enough like time to make this mature in this another layer of this already very cold individualistic online culture. That's a challenging part, I think.
I will say Americans also, from everything I'm reading, Jun, we're also going towards this place
Yeah.
that's moving away from communities and being more friendly and open with your, fellow man, I guess. Everything I'm reading is saying like younger generations don't say hi to their neighbors, don't bring over pie when they move in, right? They just don't really form those loose connections as much. So
God, now that you mentioned bringing over pie when they moved in, when I was little, do you know there was a culture in Korea where they bring 떡?
When you move in, I didn't know that. That's just like America too. People would come over, bring baked goods, bring over a drink, housewarming gift. Yeah.
The last time that I experienced it was 10 years ago. And I don't think it happens anymore.
I mean, you wouldn't trust the duck you got if you got it anymore. It's just
Not-
poisoned.
No, I would that's too extreme, but I
Okay,
would
okay.
feel that this person's kind of like old fashioned.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. It's not mistrust, or it's like, they're so like.
It's not mistrust. They would
Okay,
take it in a good way.
Okay,
But it was like, whoa, it's like when's the last time I've seen this
Oh,
happen?
really?
Kind of, yeah.
So we
And there's
just
a
had-
very specific type of duck that you give out when you moved in.
Okay.
The shirut-duck.
I want to do that for my neighbors.
Do it.
It's too late. They moved in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Say you're a new Daniel.
이웃님 안녕하세요.
Yeah.
떡 가져오셔서.
Yes.
Here's some duck.
But I did see this happening. It's just a very modern thing because the Korean people do the quote unquote interior before they move in.
Yes. Mhm.
And so a lot of times they would post like that kind of notice on elevators to
Yes,
say like,
yeah, yeah.
like room number 306 is gonna do like interior things, and it might involve some noise and stuff like that.
In fact, my neighbors very frequently come door by door to get you to sign off on it.
To sign off on it.
Yeah, or
But
like
wouldn't they
acknowledge
bring
that
something along?
They've never brought anything.
I've seen that happening sometimes, but to your immediate neighbors because they're going to be more affected.
Most affected.
Yeah, that could be another. But I think that's very utilitarian.
Oh, so they don't complain.
Yeah.
I think it's also very like give and take, calculated in the sense that, well, I'm gonna inconvenience you with the noise. Let me give you something to offset that.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like alleviating the burden and guilt. That's another thing we don't have time for, June. But I think hand in hand with all of these these concepts we've been talking about, roles, personas, jeong-based relationships versus not, boundary setting, etc. I think Koreans are much higher on the accounting side of things, like give and take, when it's not a jeong-based relationship. And I think that's what it's getting to the point of like, hey, we're not in a jeong-based relationship, so I don't want you to expect anything from me. I don't want to have to expect anything from you. But that's where I think like, as much as possible, if we can eliminate expectation and therefore burden and just do things out of like if you want to or not.
Yeah.
To me, again, it's a much healthier place to be.
Okay.
Which is like if someone's coming over, I don't expect them to bring anything. If they do, it's great. But if they don't, I don't expect it, right? Likewise, if you're going to someone's place, like now that I've lived in Korea, Jun, there's literally times where it's like someone invites me over and I'm like, oh, I don't have time to get them something. I have to decline. And like I think like how tragic is that?
Yeah.
Like we are not hanging out because I feel like I don't have the time to go buy something to bring.
Yeah.
That's at least in my mind, that's very tragic. Right? But if there weren't any expectation, I would gladly agree and just say, hey, sorry, I can't bring anything. Is that okay? But if I feel like I can't say that in Korea, and maybe I'm overthinking, but I don't know I don't think I am. I think if I showed up empty-handed, they would have been like, oh, I'm never inviting you again. Or this person doesn't have manners, right?
I think it goes hand in hand with the individualistic mindset and having set boundaries. Again, my immediate mind was pretty similar to when you were describing what was the other thing where I immediately felt that it was cold while also understanding that it's healthy. Like having no expectation to you, I feel like that's kind of cold.
Oh, really?
Almost feels like I've given up on this relationship because I don't expect anything from you.
Yeah.
I understand that it's very healthy.
Well,
but I think having some expectations for you is, in a Korean mindset, is a sense of jeong. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's where
if that person expects me to respond in a certain way, that comes from a sense of jeong, I think. I don't know how to explain it.
No. It's not a bad thing if someone has high expectations for you,
like
but it's also a burden to maintain that. Right?
Yeah. Like a parent-child relationship.
I'm glad you brought this up. I was going to use it.
If my parents would have told me we have zero expectation to you,
that's what they said.
It's kind of brutal, isn't it?
Isn't that what they said to you?
Kind of. But I knew that they have some sort of expectations of like, oh, I want you to grow healthy, right? I want you to be, happy, right? That's an expectation. But if I say like I have no expectations for you, it is very healthy, very individualistic. Immediately setting boundaries that you are you and I am I, that feels kind of cold.
Jun, my thinking on that, like parent-child relationship is constantly evolving. Some days I really think like I want zero expectation for you. You live your life. I have zero expectations. And then other times I think what you just said is right. Yeah. Like, oh, why shouldn't I have expectations for you? But I think the key difference is it's always for you. Does that make sense? Like I want you to be happy with your profession. I want you to find work that is meaningful. I want you to live the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
There's zero me in that, right? And I think that's where maybe it's a little different.
It's definitely healthy.
Yeah, I think in like the Korean family context, that expectation's often for us. Not for me as a parent, but for us as a family unit, right? Become a doctor for us. Make a lot of money for us, right? I don't think it's so selfish or individualistic that the parents like make it for me.
I see.
But it's for us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. It's like us versus you. Let's wrap up the sexual predator thing. So now we've set the stage of work-based relationships, jeong. Like I just want to wrap up that example because I think it was an important one.
Yeah. So I think we've effectively pointed out places like how it works. And I also am proud that I pinpointed evidence of progress in Korean society. But there are also, I want to pinpoint the parts that are clashing in the very individualistic, changing modern Korean society and that like residue. Is that a bad word? Of like that jeong-based relationship and how if it goes wrong, how it plays out kind of.
Okay.
And I think a very good example is in the workplace.
Okay.
There's a very funny, how would I say it? Korean people think for a long time when Korean companies posted job descriptions, they would describe their company as 가족 같은 회사. a family-like company.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like in modern days society, that's like the biggest red flag. And now no company actually
Would ever
posts
say
that.
that.
Yeah. But so I think that's a very good example of that transition phase and where values kind of collide. And I think when it plays out in the most extremely negative way is in like a sexual predator kind of context where when there's like very clear hierarchies,
Yeah.
and so you're forced to abide to certain roles and expectations, but then they take advantage of that and then like cross the line.
Yeah.
And I think that word, that very symbolic word of like 딸 같아서, because I think of you as a daughter, is considered as the most disgusting, thing that like a male. I mean, it works the other way.
Sure.
Too,
Yeah.
but it's not that common.
Yeah. Like, I think of you like my daughter,
Yeah.
and then they take advantage of you.
And it's
That's
so
disgusting.
it's
Yeah.
disgusting
Yeah.
and creepy. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Hierarchy without jeong, I think, that's where it can get very toxic and dangerous. So I just think a jeong-based relationship with roles can make sense. But once you bring hierarchy into it, I just think it's not symmetrical, which, to me breaks the definition of what you're calling jeong without
Yeah.
boundary, right? You are creating some boundaries and expectations therein. So, yeah. We do have to wrap up, like you said, June. I think there's so much more we could talk about. Maybe we'll do a part 2 later. I think today we focus a lot on setting the table, talking about the concepts, also applying them to very specific contexts. But I think there's a lot more we can talk about, like contrasting the pros and cons that I think is really valuable to do. So maybe we'll get into it in a future episode.
Great.
And yeah, just for the record, I think there is a lot that American kind of relationships can benefit from thinking more like what Koreans would define as a jeong-based relationship.
I see.
But I also think, again, the closest relationships in America I would define as jeong. It's just the next level that exists without jeong is where, anyway. Okay.
I'm glad that we were able to debunk the missing link.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm a place of much greater understanding. Yeah. As always, if you'd like to support this podcast, please consider sharing us with your friends who might be interested in our content. It means a lot and goes a long way. Second, you can support us on Patreon.
Yes.
And with Patreon, all our Patreon supporters get access to our exclusive Discord where we can discuss the latest episode, connect with other listeners, and also propose future episode topics. So since last recording, we've had two new Patreons.
So first, thank you, Jun.
Thank you, Jun.
Joon. Jun.
Not J-U-N.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, thanks for listening. That's all for this week. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
By the way, this is a side note. Probably cut it. Is the chic and gushik at all related to
Jushik,
at
yeah.
all related to like shiksa food?
No, I
Okay,
don't think so. Yeah.
I went to the clinic yesterday to try to get a blood draw, like pikomsa or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, you have to come back after like gumshik, right?"
금식.
And like we were talking, and then I said at the end like, "Oh, do I have to like 오기 전에 먹으면 안 되지? 안 되죠?"
네.
They're like, 네, 금식. And I was like, 먹으면 안 돼요. They're like, 네, 금식이요. And then finally I was like, 금 is I don't know. And then food is shiksa. So, 금식. 네. But it's so embarrassing. Yeah.
No, it's kind of weird that the way that they kept on saying the same word when it's clearly.
I'm
clear
trying
that
to
you-
understand
yeah.
more better. Yeah. Anyway.
And I think this is somewhat of a common feeling that Koreans get because it's what my dad told me too. Oh, sorry. It's my alarm. From my Apple Watch.
9 o'clock?
Yeah.
For what? Get ready for work?
Wake up.
To be single without kids.
Yo, I wake up at like 5:30 these days.
Well, then why do you have an alarm for 9? Because you
I-
might fall back asleep.
No, I just never turned it off.
Okay.
Okay, back to the topic. I just snoozed it. Maybe. Sorry. Side note. I don't know why in an iPhone,
Yeah.
the snooze button is the primary button and the stop is the secondary. I always like accidentally push snooze. Anyways, where was
Hold
I
it
at?
up.
Yeah. Wait, how?
What do you mean? It's a t-shirt.
You're gonna put it on top of your t-shirt?
Is that weird?
I'm just gonna wear it.
Oh. Wait, we should discuss this. This is a different culture.
Why?
You don't just put it over?
Put over a t-shirt over a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Why wouldn't you?
And you just wear it like that?
Yeah. I'm not going to wear it all day
Oh, that's why.
for the recording.
And also, I think because mine's I have a long sleeve, so it's gonna be weird.
It would look goofy, but June, in America, you just put it on. I feel like I have to do the oimuchim to eat it with, though.
Is that like? Is this just for the visuals, or do they actually think it goes well with the oimuchim?
Good
I mean,
question.
in theory, it just I know that it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
kimchi, right? Kind of.
Yeah, it's some type of kimchi.
Anyways.
Any kimchi would... Uh-oh.
Gorong,
Gorong.
you think it's his canned meal?
June's cat probably smelled the spam.
What even is a nougat?
Or-
I only, you
I
know,
just know this. I couldn't define it.
this is
for
a
you.
very nerdy thing. Do you know how I know what the
Nougat.
the only time that I heard about what nougat is through Android versioning. I was like, what's a nougat?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's like marshmallow.
Yeah,
then
they named
nougat.
all their
Yeah.
Android release versions after.
I love Google, that phase of Google
Yeah.
where they were like more kind of like quirky.
Didn't take
Google,
themselves so seriously, yeah.
Anyways,
Wait, as a very long time Android developer,
yeah.
I was gonna try to recite all the release versions, but now I'm quite embarrassed to say I don't think I could do them all.
I know from F,
F? What was the F one?
froyo,
Froyo,
gingerbread,
gingerbread,
honeycomb,
honeycomb. Wow, you're good. I?
ice cream sandwich. I
What's
think.
it? Ice cream sandwich. That's
Yeah.
right. J?
Jelly bean.
Jelly bean.
How do you not know anything?
K?
Kit Kat,
Kit Kat. I don't remember these now.
lollipop,
Lollipop. That sounds familiar.
and then marshmallow and then
Marshmallow
nougat.
nougat.
I think they got rid of it from N then.
Did they
Maybe
get rid of
nougat's
it?
the last one. I'm not sure.
Oh, Oreo. Would it have been Oreo?
Must have been. I'm not sure about that.
All right, let me go backwards though.
What's G? Oh wait.
G was gingerbread.
Wait.
F was Froyo. E was...
Yeah, I don't know what E is.
Oh man, it's so embarrassing. It has been a decade, but still.
Eclair?
Oh, you're so good. How do you remember all these?
Oh, I work in tech,
No, but design would not have had to care that much about them.
but I still work in tech.
Still.
Yeah.
Oh, impressive. Okay. Anyway.